Next speaker, assistant coach at Duke University, Tyler Thornton.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all being here. It's an honor to be here to represent for Coach. He means a lot to me. He was, one of the inspirations for me as a young guy that wanted to get into the business. Like he said, I started off playing out with an AAU team in Virginia, and we used to whoop up on them. And my coach ended up leaving, going to California. So he recruited me. I still remember the day meeting him out in Tyson's Corner with my dad to sign the paperwork for me to play for Maryland Select. And to be honest, that opportunity changed my life. Talking about Coach Cox and Fat Cat, like all these guys, the synergy in our journeys, but he gave us a foundation that was vital to our development. I think 3 of the players that played for that team ended up being college coaches. Eric Atkins, Justin Burrell, and all of us, I think except for one player, went on to play Division I basketball, and we played for him before he went back to Morgan State. He didn't recruit us. He didn't offer me at Morgan State, which I'm still kind of upset about. He probably could have had a Final Four team there if he would have offered our group. But Blake went to go play there, and I was a GA at Marquette right after college and had the opportunity to coach against Todd, and Blake was on that team. They came to Milwaukee, and as he's coming out the huddle, I'm trying to be serious, and he walks by a team. The coaches always dap up, and he grabbed me and kissed me on the forehead and, tried to embarrass me in front of the rest of my staff. And they looking at me like, what's going on? I was like, I played for him when I was younger. But today, he kind of asked me to talk about player-coach relationships and, building those and cultivating those. So, again, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know y'all want to get to lunch, but just kind of had a couple of notes that I wanted to speak on. The last 6 years before I got back at Duke, I was at Howard with Kenny Blakeney. Had the opportunity. I was playing pro at the time when Kenny was interviewing for the job, and he called me. He was like, hey, and I hadn't talked to him in a while. He called me just out the blue. Was like, hey, kind of what you doing? I'm like, I'm up in Canada. I'm playing pro. He said, I'm interviewing for the Howard job. Love to see if you'd be interested in joining my staff. I slept on it over the night and called him the next day. I said, KB, if you get the job, I'm there. So, a month, 2 months passed. He finally get the job. My first day, I flew back after the season was done. My first day back, May 13th, 2019, at Howard, and it was an eye-opening experience for me. Like he said, I played with good programs, great coaches, and basically I won my whole life. From DC Assault, Gonzaga, Duke, I played with elite players, guys that had goals and aspirations of being the best, and I was just very fortunate to have really good coaches. So taking that foundation, when I got to Howard, they hadn't won the conference championship since 1992. That was the year I was born. So it had been, up to that point, 25 years of losing. And that excited me. It definitely excited Kenny. Kenny had a long list of goals and things he wanted to accomplish on the court, off the court for the program. And I'm happy to say by the time I left last year, we had checked off a lot of those things on that checklist. But it was a hard, depressing first year. We went 4-28. And for me, at the time, I was living at home with my parents out in Reston. I was commuting into the city every day. Long days. We had practice some days at 7:30 at night. I wasn't getting out the gym until 10:30. And I hated losing. And, we had kids that loved everything about what the lifestyle of basketball brought, but didn't have the discipline and really the will to want to be better. And when I say better, on the court and off the court. Like Howard, great school, but it's a lot of distractions. You think about the demographic of the campus, it's 8-to-1 girls to guys, you're right in the heart of the city. So them guys that were in the program before we got there, they didn't have to be good. They didn't have to win to live a great life on campus. So part of what we had to do when we got there is we had to shake things up. And we really had to raise the standard on and off the court of what the expectations was being a Howard basketball player. Like, we weren't going to accept the fact that, hey, we haven't really won here and it's hard to do it at a HBCU and blah, blah, blah. We weren't going to accept that. So part of it was we had one guy from the DMV on the team when we got the job. But part of it was recruiting kids from this area because of the foundation they get coming up through Little League, middle school, high school basketball. We understood kind of where they were coming from and who was coaching them. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing was just, like I said, setting level of standard. We had sports psychologist, Dr. Joe Carr. A lot of y'all probably are familiar with Dr. Carr. And he was very vital in my personal development as a coach, because when I got there, you know, I just finished playing. I'm really intense. I can be intense when it's on the court. I didn't really understand the full scope of what my job was. It wasn't just coaching basketball. It was more of everything else. So he kind of helped our team figure it out, and we ended up winning 2 championships, but he also helped me develop. Part of what he implemented with me just to kind of help was a thing called box management. So box management, it covers everything from academics, family, friends, girlfriends, social life, and on court. So part of the structure of our team, each assistant probably had 5 guys that they really focused on when it came to box management. And our job as assistants, and Fat Cat kind of touched on it, our jobs as assistants is to make the head coach's job easier. And in whatever ways he either tells you or ways you can kind of figure out how to help him do his job, because head coaches got a million things on their plate. And there was times when I first got there that I wasn't being as much of a help as I needed to be. So part of that was taking more initiative with building the relationships with the guys that we were bringing in, and kind of, like I said, holding them to that standard where the machine started to work for itself. So part of the academic goals, and it's different now, man. When I played, you know, NIL wasn't a thing. Guys were in school for 4 years. For the most part, it wasn't a lot of guys transferring. Now, it's like the Wild Wild West. And even at the high school level, school has become, and when I say school, the academic piece has become less and less important. After COVID, SAT scores, all of those things kind of went out the window. So part of it is like, we did a thing with our group at Duke this year, and had split the team up and had them write on the wall, you know, 5 things that was important for this school year for our team to be good. And everything they wrote was, you know, basketball, team, connection. None of them wrote anything about academics, right? So that's kind of show you where a lot of these kids' heads are is, you know, they got ChatGPT, which is a great tool, but they feel like that stuff is not important, which it is. Because we talk about, it's impossible to be successful out here on the court if you got homework assignments missing, you're not doing well in class. All of that stuff becomes a distraction. So part of the box is academics. And having standards, obviously, you get with them at the beginning of the school year, semester. College, you get the full semester syllabus for each class. Pretty much what we do is go through each class, have them write down assignments, papers, tests listed out, and pretty much we have weekly check-ins to see where they are. And again, it's not about, because I didn't always get straight A's. I failed a couple classes in college. I had some D's, C's, so it's not always about being perfect, but it's about getting ahead of the problem before it gets too late, right? So that's the purpose of the academic piece of that. The biggest piece is the distractions with family, parents, aunts, uncles, what they think you should be doing, especially out here on the court, what they think your value is. So helping kids understand, hey, this is our program. We got to listen to the head coach. He figure out how he wanted to plug you in. Social life. girlfriends, homeboys, who they hanging out with, what they're doing, right? Like, weed is legal now, you know, drinking, all of those things. For a lot of guys, they can't handle all of that. So you gotta really be in tune with your players and you gotta have tough conversations at the end of the day. And I'll get through a couple of examples of some of the guys I've dealt with in the past, but you see something, you gotta address it. You gotta be willing to have them uncomfortable conversations, because it could be the difference between winning and losing. And then lastly, on the court, Vanderbilt talked about, you know, if you're shooting 20 shots a game, 5 seconds per shot attempt, however that math breaks down, what are you doing the other 98% of the game? So that's what I focus on. We spent time with the Spurs 3 weeks ago. Brian Wright, the GM, 2 things he said when we met with him that really stuck out to me. He said, points are the cheapest thing you can buy. So when you're dealing with your players and everybody wants to score points and all these things, which is great, we have to get them to understand if they want to have a long career, having a mindset of thinking you're just going to be KD and Kobe is not the right way. We saw what happened with the kid up in Brooklyn, Cam Thomas, averaging 25 points a game, wanting $30 million a year. And Brooklyn said no, and none of the other teams wanted them, ended up signing a 1-year deal for like $8 million, right? Which is still a good check, right? But at the end of the day, if he was more willing to do some of the other things outside of scoring, his value would be more. And then lastly, just like the standards of, okay, academic check-ins. If a kid isn't doing what he's supposed to academically, how do we handle that? What are some of the ways that we can address it? Obviously, you get the parents involved, but it's like study hall tutors for us, getting them connected, trying to figure out what subject they're going to struggle with the most. Going to class check-ins, Fat Cat just talked about it. So many times, man, at Howard, I know my guys' schedules. I'm calling them 15 minutes, like, hey, man, where you at? You could tell, oh, he's asleep. I'm like, hey, man, get up. You got to go to class. I'm like, Coach Ty, but It's like, no, this is part of the structure for us to be successful. You got to go to class. Right now, they got a great situation. A lot of kids, online classes. So all you got to do is flip your laptop up. You could be laying in bed, just sign on. The mental toughness that it takes to show up every day, we talk about it all the time, is what life is all about. As you get out of school, you get out of that bubble, you're going to have to show up for yourself and figure out how to take care of yourself. Talk to our guys about wanting to be fathers, husbands, and lead a household. All of these things that are foundational pieces to go off and do that on your own. So I want to talk about 3 kids. I'm not going to name them. We'll just call them 757, New York and DC. All right. So 757, he was on our first year. We got there. He's part of the old staff. We got there that first month of the summer. And if me and Kenny had to bet all our money on who wasn't going to make it through, we would have voted for this kid. Bad attitude, bad body, bad habits. But he wanted it, right? So Kenny had kicked him off the team about 5 times over the course of our first 2 years. And I'm saying, like, literally, you done. We're going to send your paperwork in. You're going to have to figure out something else to do. Part of my job as an assistant was to help this kid stay on the team, essentially, right? And it wasn't about me convincing Kenny to keep him on the team, because it's Kenny's program. It was about me, one, building the trust with him, where it's like, hey, man, you messing up, but it ain't the end of the world. So helping give him solutions on how to handle certain situations, how to have conversations with Kenny, because I would be in the meetings with them two going back and forth, and I'm just sitting there. I'm not saying nothing. I'm just observing, and I'm like, get out of that meeting. On my ride home, I call Kenny. You know, Kenny giving me the business, like, man, this dude done, like, da-da-da-da-da. I got a call, 757, like, look, man, this is how you got to move forward, right? You got to be a man about where you are and embrace the challenges that coach is putting in front of you. Like I mentioned it earlier, the partying, drugs, and alcohol is tough, but you gotta let people know where they at, right? It's not for everybody. The girlfriends, the distractions, like you gotta relate to them. Like I had girlfriends in college, I had issues with partying and doing all of those other things. It was about me relating to him like, hey, when I was in your position, this is what happened, this was the result, but this is how I changed, right? So my connection with him over those 2-3 years, and again, we went through this ups and downs. 2 weeks he's doing real good, and he dived off the deep end. By the time he graduated, he led the country in three-point percentage, and for the last 4 years, he's been making 6 figures as a professional basketball player and is going to play for the next 10 years if he wants to. Player number 2 from New York, my man, came in with high energy, great kid, very high expectations on what he wanted. He didn't feel like he was a Howard player. He felt like he should have been going to Auburn, to Alabama, one of these places. Like he came in, he wanted to watch film on Bradley Beal and all of these players that he was not. Down in Central, we playing. And I'm talking about this kid, 40-inch vert, windmills between the legs. Wide open dunk down to Central on the road. Wide open, get hung. Coach looked at me, and he started laughing because it was just like he couldn't believe it happened. But part of it was the kid checked out. He had checked out because his role, again, as a freshman, wasn't what he thought it should be. Now my job is like, okay, knowing you could dunk and put it between your legs and you're not dunking when you got a wide open opportunity in the game, how can I help this kid? Every day after practice, and it wasn't nothing long, extra 25, 30 minutes on the court, watching film, all right, being like, hey, you're not playing as much as you're supposed to because every time you put the ball on the floor, you turn it over. You're forcing up shots. You're not rebounding the ball. You're not doing the tough things that your body should be doing. He ends up understanding like, okay, I got to reel it back in. And again, it's to come back to the trust. We doing extra work and it's hard, and he's kind of frustrated with me, and he's like, Coach, but yada, yada. I'm like, trust me. If you do these things, you get in better shape. When your time comes, you're going to go through the roof. Ends up being preseason MEAC Player of the Year, and he stayed, actually, which is very rare. This is his 5th year at Howard, which, you know, in this day and age, you don't get guys, I don't care what level you at, staying 4 or 5 years. And then lastly, my boy from D.C. played at my high school, Blake Harper, was here this past year. Pretty good high school career, probably averaged 4 points and 3 rebounds at Gonzaga. Severely out of shape when we got to school. His mother had passed the summer before. And last summer, I would say, it's probably the hardest summer of his life. And I was on his ass. Like, going home every day, I'm calling his dad, like, Blake about to get me fired. My first guy from my alma mater, Gonzaga, and Kenny in the gym looking at me like, your Gonzaga boy dragging ass up and down the court. I had to have a really tough conversation, really tough interaction with Blake that was uncomfortable for me, but also for him. And we cried, and basically the conversation was he didn't feel like I believed in him. And I assured him that I did believe in him and that I was going to do everything it took out of me, no matter how much time it took, to make sure he achieved his goals. He knew he was a good player. He just didn't know how to make that happen. I was like, if you trust me, you meet me halfway. I'm not going to say what's going to happen, but you'll be in a better place. You'll be in a better position to do something. Fast forward, Rookie of the Week every week of the season. And I'm telling you, he came in on last summer as our 15th man, last man on the roster. Have a couple injuries. Our most talented player ended up transferring out right before the season started. Because of the work he put in that summer, the opportunity, once it came, he was ready for it. Ended up becoming MEAC Player of the Year and Rookie of the Year in the same year, which had never happened in the history of the league. So part of it is just like, be willing to go above and beyond, but don't sugarcoat it either. Like, you gotta be real with the guys or the girls and do it out of love. Like, I would have loved to have been at Howard for the rest of my career just because I loved the environment. I loved working for Kenny. The opportunity he gave me, like Fat Cat said, I wasn't at Howard with the purpose of trying to go somewhere else. Like, when I first got the job, I just got the job, people calling me to congratulate me, but then at the same sentence, the next sentence, they ask me, so how long you think you're gonna be there? You know, so, but my mindset wasn't on, yeah, I'm doing this so I can go X, Y, and Z. It's like, I'm doing this because I want to win at Howard. I want to put the program on the map. I want to do my life goal, which was being a coach. So that's all I got for y'all. Any questions, any thoughts about, you know, my journey, being at Howard, now being at Duke, anything, floor is open.
When you got those players who think, like you said, who think they know it all, but they're better at a specific role, but they just can't get to it, it will crush them if you tell them, look, this is not you. How do you go about that?
I think you got to attack it from different angles, and sometimes it's better to allow them to try to do the things, especially at the beginning of the year or off-season, preseason. Let them try to do the things they think they can do. Record it as much as you can. You don't need a whole camera set up. Record the phone. The tape is usually going to tell you 9 times out of 10 the truth, right? So you attack them with the truth on the court, and then you kind of got to find some players. Everybody not going to be an NBA guy, but find players that have had success at the college and NBA level that fit the role that you're trying to get them to fit in, so that they can visualize that, see that, and understand it. But sometimes, like I said, this summer at Duke, we just let them play, right? So by the end of the summer, we keep track of all the stats, everything that happened. It's like, you think you want to be able to dribble the ball a lot, well, you're leading us in turnovers this summer. So that means you need to be able to make quicker decisions and get the ball out of your hands, right? So sometimes you just got to let them show themselves that they can and can't do certain things. But also, too, at the big picture, every team, construction, especially now at the college level, every year is a whole different year. It's rare that you got guys coming back. So you may have a kid that's doing something one year, then that next year your team may need them to do something different. So really just being open and honest with your communication, right? But also leaving that little bit of window for, all right, you want to shoot a bunch of threes? I'll let you shoot 2 wide open threes, but I need you to get 10 rebounds, right? Trying to figure out a way for them to work on their game in a lot of ways, but what are your non-negotiables in terms of what do you want them to do to help your team win?
Appreciate it.
Yep.
So, what would you say is like the biggest difference in dealing with the mentality of a MEAC basketball player versus a Duke player?
The biggest difference, to be honest, again, they all still got the same mindset in a lot of ways. I would say the guys at Duke are that much closer to an opportunity in the NBA as opposed to the MEAC. So I would say when I first got there, you got guys that's coming in as freshmen that's in the gym at 6 a.m. They in the gym right before the workout. They in the gym at night, whereas at Howard, you got to kind of teach guys a routine that is a professional mindset. Because again, we've had guys, they didn't go to NBA, but we've had guys that have gone to be pros. So we've always tried to teach them the foundation. If you want to be a pro, when you get out of school, it's supposed to be your job. So at school, you got class, you got study hall, you got all these other things filling up your day. But now you want to say you want to be a pro, you got to start to kind of think of yourself as a pro while you're in school. So I would probably say that's the biggest difference. But in both situations, they all got the same insecurities. They all want the same, they all want the lights and the success and the headlines and the Instagram posts. Like, they all crave that stuff. But again, that stuff could be a big distraction. So I try to reel them back in. It's like that stuff don't matter. At the end of the day, if you want to go be a high-level pro, your Instagram following and TikTok and the stuff people write about you doesn't matter. Like, what you do inside these lines. And another thing Brian Wright from the Spurs said, he said, the person is more important than the player. When they're talking about evaluating guys to bring into their organizations, the person you are is more important than how many shots and all the stuff they can teach you what they want you to do at that level. They want to know if you're going to be a good teammate, good locker room guy, handle your business, be out in the community, right? So teaching those guys to understand that as well.
Not to keep comparing you to previous institutions, but how do you manage like egos and like player minutes within your players and your teams in the NIL circle from a MEAC player and an ACC player, knowing the differences? Yeah,
and I think it's still the same. You take the money out of it, it's still the same. Like, everybody wants to play 30, 40 minutes. Everybody wants to take all the shots. And when you say take all the shots, take bad shots as well, right? So I probably dealt with that more at Howard, because in their minds it's like, well, a lot of the guys didn't feel like they should have been at Howard, to be honest. We might have been they 1 or 2 offer, but they all wanted to go be somewhere else. So in their mind, they're like, what's the fastest route for me to be somewhere else, right? Whereas at Duke is like, okay, Duke is at the top of the list. Anywhere else pretty much from there is either lateral or down, unless you go into the league. So just getting them to understand, like, winning is the most important thing, in my opinion, when it comes to all this. If we win, everybody gets opportunity to do what they want to do after. If we lose, none of us deserve opportunity to continue to be honest. Like, winning is the most important thing. So that's kind of the mentality tried to instill with my Howard guys, but also with my Duke guys as well. Anything else? Well, I appreciate y'all time. Thank you. Love you.